Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, Wednesday, April 25th. Ian Cameron with you. We had a little mute problem there, but that's fixed. We're good to go now and ready to rock on this Wednesday. We have two NHL games tonight on this Wednesday slate. Looking forward to that. Alex has taken the day to just get that foot healed up a little bit more, which he's been dealing with for a little bit. He'll be back tomorrow. Matty Rob, we hope his audio issues will be all good and back in order tomorrow on the Thursday show as well. So just you and I here on this Wednesday edition of the show. We want to thank everybody for turning out, showing up, and being there with us last night on the Betcast. A lot of fun as always. Just great company, hanging out with everybody. Obviously on the Betcast, we really do have a great group, of fellow hockey bettors. People that love the sport, people that love betting on hockey. And we just really do have a good group of people. I mean, that becomes pretty clear, pretty evident every time we do a Betcast. So, like I said, it was a lot of fun. Benji, you were one of the many great people we were able to hang with last night. Thank you for joining us. I'm glad you made that decision. It was great. Everybody that was on the Betcast last night, it was a lot of fun as always. And it had been a while. It was our longest stretch of the season that we had gone without having a Betcast. So it was nice to get back into the groove last night. We had a lot of people joining us. We also had just some people coming in and saying hello and thanks for your work, the work you do, and thank you for the efforts of doing this show every day and just coming in to say hello for a minute or two and popping in and just leaving after a couple minutes. That's okay as well. So, and then there were people that stayed for the whole night. So, like I said, it was a lot of fun. It was an unbelievable night of action on the ice last night. As far as the what we saw in many of the games, exciting finishes, comeback attempts. Obviously, there were a ton of games with playoff implications. So it really made for an entertaining Tuesday night in NHL action. Shout out to it late in the night. I think Distance was his name who came on late. It was pretty. He was a riot in the late night hours, joining us toward the end of the Betcast as well. Landon was on. Goose. Obviously Robert, Jonathan Davis, the usual people were on the Betcast in the early part as well. Tim. I mean, it goes on. Just tons of great people. On the Betcast. I wish the live bets had gone a little bit better. It wasn't our best night with the live wagers, in-game wagers. But I can say as we look back on the Tuesday card, it was a good night for a lot of the pregame stuff. We had a lot of winners with the pregame stuff, the pregame bets last night. And one of them was the Columbus Blue Jackets, a massive 2 points for them as they beat the Philadelphia Flyers by a score of 3-2. And don't look now because of some of the other results that took place, the Islanders and the Penguins losing. The Blue Jackets are now second in the Metropolitan Division. And if the playoffs started today, the Blue Jackets would have home ice advantage in the first round. Unbelievable stuff, considering this was one of the worst teams in the Eastern Conference. Obviously, when Rick Bowness took over, it's been an incredible resurgence for the Blue Jackets. They've done it with better team defense. Goaltending has stepped up. Jet Greaves was very solid. Last night, a lot of players on the forward group, too, that maybe were underachieving under Dean Evison. They've stepped up. Mason Marchment scored last night. His addition, that trade with Seattle has turned out to be a very good one for Columbus. So a nice 3-2 win for them last night over the Philadelphia Flyers. The most frustrating team for me to bet this year in the NHL struck again, Seattle. Thought it was a great spot, great price. Florida banged up, beaten up, shorthanded, tons of injuries, tons of absences. Big, important game for Seattle to try to hang in the playoff race and get 2 points, but it was not meant to be. And, of course, Seattle did the ultimate tease, down 4-1 in the third period, scoring 3 unanswered to tie the game at 4, only to fall short all over again in the shootout. and lose 5-4 to the Florida Panthers last night. The good news is we did have over 5.5, so at least we got that with the flurry of goals. 7 goals in the third period last night between the Kraken and the Panthers. But while they did get a point, and I guess that's significant that they at least got a point, salvaged 1 point out of a game where they were down 4-1 in the third. It didn't look like they were going to get anything out of it. So that was significant for Seattle. But still, to not get the 2 points in that game last night, pretty disappointing. Montreal, they get a 5-2 win against the Carolina Hurricanes last night. 43-19 the shots in favor of the Canes. It was a great performance from Jakub Dobeš. Not so much for Freddie Anderson, who gives up 4 on just 18 shots. But Montreal opportunistic. Cole Caulfield, Juraj Slafkovsky, Demidov, and Kapanen get the goals, and Jake Evans into the empty net to put it away. And Montreal continues to solidify their standing right now, third in the Atlantic Division, staying ahead of Boston, Detroit, and Ottawa. They got ground. It's not going to be easy, I think, for them to catch either Buffalo or Tampa Bay ahead of them in the Atlantic Division. But, for them, it's about just maintaining your spot, not falling lower than you are. And they are now 2 clear of Boston, 3 clear of Ottawa. Still a lot of work to be done. I don't think they're going to catch Buffalo or Tampa Bay because they're still 5 behind the Lightning, 7 behind the first-place Sabres in the Atlantic Division. Still a big 2 points, though, last night for Montreal, and we get the over in that game. We had Montreal money line and team total over split, so that was great to see. Chicago, 4-3 win against the Islanders. Costly loss for the Islanders, although they rallied late to try to get that game tied, but the comeback attempt fell just short. Congratulations to Anton Frondell, the first-round pick, making his NHL debut last night. He gets his first NHL point, an assist, an apple on the Ilya Mikheyev goal. That's just disappointing for the New York Islanders. You can't fall down 3-1 in the first period like you did. Big Siv Dave came out to play. He was rough in the first period. He ended up getting replaced by Ilya Sorokin. So clearly Patrick Waugh felt a goalie change was needed in that one. But solid win for Chicago. And, Alex is not a big fan, as a Blackhawks fan, of Arvid Soderblom. He is very critical of him. He doesn't feel he's been great, but we do have to acknowledge when he does play well, and I thought he played terrific last night. He faced 47 shots. He made 44 saves. I mean, the Islanders just, especially in the last 2 periods, they outshot the Blackhawks 35-12 in the last 2 periods combined. But you got to give Arvid Soderblom a lot of credit for holding the fort, and that is a very, very disheartening loss for the Islanders and a bitter disappointment not to get 2 points, and a costly loss considering the Penguins or the Jackets won last night. They had an opportunity with the Penguins losing, and the Islanders miss out on that. And Alex had the only bargain bin special winner on the show yesterday with Simon Holmstrom, who ends up cashing at plus 370 for the one and only bargain bin that we were able to hit yesterday on the show. Minnesota and, what was next? No, Ottawa, Detroit. This is a bad loss for Detroit. We talked about how everything was set up on a silver platter for them. Rest advantage. They've been sitting at home waiting for Ottawa since Saturday when they lost against Boston. And actually, they outplayed Boston. It was the Jeremy Swayman show in that game. Ottawa coming in with 2 defensemen out. No, more than that. 3 defensemen out. 4, you could even say. Jensen, Sanderson, Shabbat, and Thompson. They had to call up Carter Yakimchuk, and to pour salt on the wound for Detroit, you got these call-ups that enter the team on the blue line, and one of them scores in last night for the Senators and Yakimchuk. So just a brutal loss for Detroit, really is. Although, I thought in the third period they did everything they could to tie it, but we're not in the business of moral victories right now. You have to get 2 points in a game like that. Ottawa's on a back-to-back. They're riddled on the blue line with injuries. You've got a huge rest advantage. You got to win that fucking game. That's all there is to it. And it's a bad loss for Detroit. Once again, showing signs of them not meeting the moment, not meeting the pressure of winning these critical games down the stretch in March and April to get in to the Stanley Cup playoffs. And look, there's plenty of time left. 3 weeks left in the regular season. Red Wings still have, 11 games left on their schedule? They're only 1 point behind the Senators for the second wild card. And, of course, Ottawa leapfrogs Detroit with that win last night. And they're only 2 points behind Boston, Detroit. So Detroit's still right there, still right in front of them. But now, obviously, they've lost control of their destiny. They're going to have to win games, and they're going to have to hope the teams above them lose, like an Ottawa, like a Boston. So that's the one thing that's happened here with this little swoon that the Red Wings are on. But there's not really much that you like here. There's not really much that makes you feel, overly confident right now about Detroit, because we've seen this pattern from them in the last couple of years, not being able to deal with not being able to elevate and play their best at the biggest pressure moments of the season. And that's a bad loss for the Red Wings last night, losing 3-2 to Ottawa. Toronto, they hand Boston a 4-2 loss last night in Boston, where the Bruins have been almost unbeatable for the better part of the last 2 months. But the Leafs go in there to TD Garden and get a 4-2 win over the Bruins. This was right up there as another disappointing loss. And this was warranted. This was a deserved loss for the Boston Bruins, because Toronto flat out outplayed them start to finish. 35-20 were the shots in favor of the Leafs last night. Pretty porous effort for a team that's in the position Boston's in. They haven't solidified shit. They haven't, clinched anything yet. And yes, they have the number one wild card spot still, but it's a very tenuous lead that they have. They're only one up on Ottawa, who have the second wild card, one up on the Islanders, who are on the outside looking in now after last night, and 2 points up on Detroit. So Boston still has plenty of work to do. They haven't clinched anything yet. And that's a very disappointing loss for them, 4-2 last night to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Colorado, they beat up on Pittsburgh 6-2. I kind of thought, Colorado would certainly be amped up. You're playing 8 days later the team that just embarrassed you on your home ice 7-2 in Denver, playing this Pittsburgh team, getting another chance at them, and they left no doubt in this game. They put the boots to Pittsburgh early, 4-1 after the first period. First period winner with the Colorado team total over last night in that game. And then, of course, later on, the full game over, which I also took, ended up cashing in. And it was just Colorado cruising, rolling to victory last night in that one. So 6-2 Avs. And not just that, but some injury concerns now for Pittsburgh. Evgeny Malkin and Anthony Mantha have already been ruled out for the Penguins when they play Ottawa tomorrow night. So that is not what you want to see for this Penguins team. This Penguins team is a disaster defensively. I don't know what else to say. How else do you want to phrase it right now? They're playing track meet hockey every night, and it's been good because I've been on these overs every night for Pittsburgh pretty much, but they are just a mess defensively. You can't rely right now on either Arturs, Shelovs, or Skinner for the Pittsburgh Penguins. They've both been shaky in net for the Penguins to go along with that Swiss cheese defense on the blue line. So that's the problem for the Penguins. When they win games, it feels like they got to score 5 or 6 to win because of just how much they've struggled to keep the puck out of their net. Tampa Bay with a 6-3 win against Minnesota. There were a couple of great fights in this game. Perry got lit up by Michael McCarron, just destroyed Corey Perry in that fight. A bloody mess after that bout. And then it was a dandy with Scott Sabrin and Nick Foligno in that game last night. So that was a very, very contentious game for two teams that are in opposing conferences. But Tampa Bay, after a slow start, down 2-0 after the first period, they roar back. They win 6-3 last night in that one. So pretty solid comeback victory there for the Lightning. Pretty good that they were able to find the energy to come back, too, because they were coming off a Western road trip. I was worried about trusting Vegas, and my worry was confirmed. They lose 4-1 to Winnipeg. I know they got off the schneid beating Dallas. But again, offense hard to come by. Another game where they are stuck and score just one goal. I thought they outplayed Winnipeg a little bit, 27-21, but doesn't matter when you can't put the puck in the net. And it's another game where the Golden Knights don't put the puck in the net. And the Winnipeg Jets end up with a 4-1 win. And here's the Jets somehow just hanging around. Winnipeg now 5 points back of the second wild card held by Nashville. So they're still hanging around. Vegas can't make up any ground. Vegas now 1 point behind Edmonton in the Pacific, and they've now fallen 6 points behind the first place Anaheim Ducks in that Pacific division. So Vegas losing ground at the moment, and we're at the point now with Vegas here where, the Kings are now only 4 back of them. So, I mean, it's not totally out of the realm of possibility. Vegas could fall right out of the playoffs. I don't think it's going to happen because I don't trust the LA Kings enough to usurp them, but at the same point in time, they're leaving it to chance, Vegas, that they could fall right out of this thing. San Jose looks like they're fading. They're running out of gas. I think, too, a lot of these young kids playing 82 games, it's a new, especially when it's such intense hockey, you gotta bring it every night, and it feels like they're running out of steam here down the stretch, San Jose, but that was an ugly first period. They basically lost the game in the first 20 minutes, down 5-1 after that first period, and Nashville cruises to a 6-3 victory over the Sharks. Fifth straight win for Nashville. Unbelievable job by them. They are second wild card after that win last night, and up by 3 on the Kings, 5 on the Kraken, 5 on the Jets with that second wild card spot. New Jersey, how about them? Going into Dallas, beating the Dallas Stars 6-4. We cashed the best bet over 5.5 in this game easily. Didn't have to sweat that one at all. And we did have the Dallas team total over, which hits, and that's the beauty of the team total. Team doesn't have to win the game. You can win your bet, though. And we saw that with the Dallas team total. That's why I love team totals, especially with the over the money line in some instances. You can win your team total over, and the team doesn't necessarily have to win the game. And we saw that with the Stars last night. Team total hits, even though they lose 6-4 to the New Jersey Devils. I think you look at this situation here for the Devils. It's a good win. Look, they're a good offensive team. I don't love their defense. I don't love their goaltending. But when you've got Jesper Bratt heating up, he was one of the goal props I mentioned, and he's a streaky scorer. And right now, I think it's 3 or 4 in a row games where he's scored. And Jack Hughes has been on a tear post-Olympic break. That gold medal winning goal in overtime that beat Canada has gone right to his skates. It's they can score. That's never been an issue. They got a good offensive team. Timo Meier scored last night. It's been the defense that's been the issue. That's why they're a dead nuts over team right now. Other than games against snails and defensive-minded stalwarts like Washington and a couple others, every recent Devils game has gone over the total. Connor Brown, good call by Benji in the chat. He's been doing good at this point in time. So, like I said, right now, my thought process moving forward with New Jersey is over in their games until proven otherwise, because that's kind of the way they're playing right now. And 6-4 for the Devils there against the Stars last night. St. Louis, I mean, think about that the Blues were coming off a road trip. Washington's been playing pretty good hockey. Washington actually went with Logan Thompson, and it's not Logan Thompson's fault. He only gave up 2 goals, but shut out by Joel Hofer. A solid game in net. And the St. Louis Blues shut out the Washington Capitals 3-0. And that's been the one issue with Washington. Not enough offense half the time. When they lose, it's usually because they get shut down. They get shut out. They only score 1 or 2 goals. And they're not a great offensive team. Certainly not right now, at this point in time. And like I said, I think it's a situation where they relied a lot on Logan Thompson being damn near perfect to win some of those games that they've won recently. But the offense has still been very, very hard to come by at times for the Capitals, including last night as the St. Louis Blues end up getting a 3-0 victory, and only 21 shots for the Capitals last night. Like I said, they just have had a harder time lately putting the puck in the net, and it certainly showed and was on full display last night in St. Louis. The Calgary Flames, they're now undefeated on their current homestand. St. Louis, Tampa, Florida, and now last night they beat the the LA Kings 3-2 in a shootout. Perfect homestand for the Flames. For a team that's way out of the playoffs, you give them credit. They're stepping up. And last night was different. Against Tampa Bay and Florida, they caught the Lightning and the Panthers in those 2 games in terrible spots, both off playing Edmonton the night before. And I thought Calgary was a good bet in both of those games, and we cashed Calgary bets in both of those games against Florida and against Tampa Bay, noting the fact that they caught the Lightning and Panthers at the end of road trips and tough spots on a back-to-back after playing in Edmonton. Last night was different. LA had a rest advantage, and LA's playing, or should be playing every game like it's Game 7 right now to try to make the playoffs. So that might have even been a more impressive win last night for the Flames as they get the job done 3-2 in a shootout over the Kings. What a cheeky little goal scored by Sharon Govich to win it in the shootout over Darcy Kemper last night as well. So we did cash the draw. The one thing that was tough about last night from a pregame betting standpoint, we won a lot of the totals. We won a lot of the sides. We had Columbus, we had Montreal, We had the over with Carolina, Montreal, the over with Colorado, Pittsburgh, the over with Chicago and the New York Islanders, the over as the best bet with New Jersey, Dallas. But we had 9 draws yesterday, and we only hit one of them. So that's some of the negative about yesterday. But at least we got the one with the Kings and the Flames. And, even though it was 1 draw winner out of the 9 draw bets I made, let's not forget about the fact that Columbus, Philly was right there with the potential to go to overtime. Carolina, Montreal was right there with the potential to go to overtime. Chicago and the New York Islanders was right there with the potential to go to overtime. Ottawa, Detroit was right there with the potential to go to overtime. So there were tons of games yesterday where you get that tying goal and all of a sudden you're winning 2, 3, 4 draw bets instead of just one. And it's a different feel, different outcome. So yeah, like I said, that's what happens sometimes. That's why you still have to keep the draw bets, as I do. You go 0.05 units, which for me is a very, very small bet. For majority of the bets for me are in the quarter to half unit range. We're only going 0.05 with the draw bets. Sometimes not even that, 0.01 for the bigger price draw bets. So keep it small because it's still not easy to hit them on a nightly basis. Edmonton, they beat Utah 5-2. You'd think we should give Tristan Jarry some praise, but he only faced 18 shots. And we were on the betcast watching this game. They did everything in their power to just protect him at all costs. Make it very, very difficult, make it difficult for Utah to get shooting lanes, get the puck to the net. They played as a conservative shell of a defensive game, as you could ask for from a team that's not used to playing that kind of way. But they figured, Jarry's a hot mess lately. We can't shield it. We can't put him up there against 30 shots, 35 shots. We've got to try to keep the shot volume at a minimum. And that formula worked for Edmonton last night as they got the job done with a 5-2 win against Utah. Not a good night for Vejmelka. He gave up 4 goals on 15 shots. Vanacek replaced him late in the game, and Edmonton with the 5-2 win. We did cash the full game over. We were obviously short with the Utah team total over. And we wrapped up the night with Anaheim, Vancouver. And yes, there was really no rhyme or reason for why or how Anaheim has struggled so much against Vancouver, including 0-2 for the Ducks this season against the Canucks. But finally, they get a victory, Anaheim over Vancouver. And now all is right with the world again. 5-3 victory over Vancouver. We had the Anaheim team total over primarily in this game. And I still liked it, even though they had struggled with Vancouver, and they do get to 5 last night. So Ducks team total over 3.5 is a winner, and a big 2 points for Anaheim. If you're trying to win a Pacific Division like they are, you got to beat the teams you should beat on your schedule. And Anaheim was able to do that last night with the 5-3 victory. It was a great night overall pregame-wise. Definitely a profitable night, even with the disappointment with the draws. But a lot of the pregame stuff was good. Like I said, I was open for a little bit better with the live in-game wagers, but we were close, man. We had a couple teams. We thought Detroit might tie it, and they almost did. But can't complain about the pregame betting results last night in the NHL on the card. It ended up being pretty good when it was all said. The Canes were disappointing, no doubt. It was a tough night for them. But Montreal's tough in that building, and especially when they get it going offensively, no doubt. Manny's saying, I had a good night, going to join Patreon for the rest of the playoff push after I get off work. Let's go. Thank you, Manny. Appreciate it. Patreon's where it's at, man. And I just posted on the Patreon page earlier today, we're going to have 4 at least, and we might even have more, but we are absolutely at minimum, we are going to have 4 Patreon exclusive live betcasts in April. We're going to have 2 before the regular season ends, and we're going to have 2 for the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs in late April. And these are all Patreon exclusive live betcasts, all 4 of them in April. Now, we will have a free-for-all betcast in April as well, but this is in addition to that. 4 Patreon exclusive live betcasts in April. We're going to have 2 in the very early part of April before the regular season ends, and we're going to have another 2 Patreon exclusive live betcasts in the Stanley Cup playoffs in the first round in late April. So if you loved last night's betcast, there's a lot more where that came from on the way. We're going to have another free-for-all open to the public live betcast in April, and then we're going to have 4 Patreon exclusive live betcasts available only to Patreon Ice Guys members. So again, looking forward to that for sure. And it's gonna be busy, guys. Get ready. Get those betcast. Get those betcast shoes on, because we're gonna be loading up with the betcasts here coming up in April and beyond. We're gonna have a bunch in May and June as well during the Stanley Cup playoffs. All right, let's get into Wednesday's card. We've got 2 games, and we will begin with the Boston Bruins and Buffalo Sabres. This is your TNT national game tonight. Buffalo minus 200, home favorites. 6.5 being the total in this game. Should be a good one. We got the Bruins coming off a disappointing loss last night against the Toronto Maple Leafs, and I mean very disappointing loss. So they'll be looking to bounce back here. Now, it's a weird situation because you got the Bruins on a back-to-back. A lot of people look at that as a bet against spot. And then you got Buffalo, though, coming back after a long road trip out west in California. I wouldn't exactly call that a great bet on spot either. So has me kind of perplexed how to handle this game. What I'm going to do here is because, Boston's probably going to have some energy. And Boston, I think, is going to have a little pep in their step early in this game tonight after losing 4-2 to the Toronto Maple Leafs last night. Now, I'm not going to take them first goal, first period. Last time I projected Buffalo to be in a miserable spot, it was that game against Tampa Bay, 8-7. They beat the Lightning. It was one of the all-time classics you're ever going to see in the regular season in the NHL, that game. It had everything. It had line brawls. It had fights. It had 15 goals. And I projected Buffalo because they won that game. They're going to be flat as a pancake that next game, early in the game against the San Jose Sharks. Well, they got out to a 2-0 lead in that first period against San Jose, and then they ended up winning that game 6-3. So they were spot-proof. And there's been a lot of times that the Buffalo Sabres have been spot-proof this season. So I'm not knee-jerk reacting to the Sabres coming off the road trip here out west and going in the direction of Boston, first goal, first period. What I am going to look at here in this game is first period over, and more specifically, the bet I really like in this game early, both teams to score in the first period. I think that's a great look. I really do. Because I think we saw Buffalo in the San Jose game after the Tampa game. We saw them jump out to a lead. We saw them get 2 goals. They also conceded a goal and gave up a goal in the first period of that game against San Jose. So I think both teams can get on the board in this opening 20 minutes here tonight. Boston, again, we always say this about the teams on the back-to-back. Your energy level is at its highest, is at its peak early, and then your legs start to feel it later in the game. And that's second and often in the third period in particular. You start to maybe fade a little bit. But I think after that disheartening loss last night against Toronto, you're going to see a good-spirited effort here from the Bruins early in this game. What's the Bruins' first period goal price? Give me that as well. Give me that. At FanDuel, it's minus 136. Boston, first period goal. Give me that. Boston first period goal, minus 136. And I want to bet that, not first goal, first period, because this could be one of these deals again where Buffalo scores first, makes it 1-0, and then Boston ties it. Or Buffalo scores a couple, like the San Jose game I'm referencing. Buffalo scores the first 2 goals, and then Boston gets on the board to cut the lead to 2-1. We could get one of those deals as well. So that's why I prefer Boston first period goal. I'll lay the $1.36 on that rather than first goal, first period, because Buffalo is pretty damn good at home scoring the first goal. And if they and the worst potential worst spot you could imagine after that crazy Tampa game, Buffalo playing San Jose at home, and they still scored the first goal. So that's why I prefer going this route instead. Give me the Boston first period goal, minus 136, first period over. And the bet I like the most is both teams to score in the first period. This is a fantastic game to use that derivative bet. It really is, because I think Boston's going to come out storming after losing last night. Buffalo a little sluggish defensively, possibly coming off the West Coast, but Buffalo being good enough offensively to chip one in too. It's plus 162, by the way, at FanDuel. Plus 162. At FanDuel for both teams to score in the first period. So I like that. I like all those bets more than anything for the full game. Full game, I'm not enamored with much, to be honest with you. Everything I like here is early in this one with the Bruins and the Sabres. What I can tell you is head-to-head, the Bruins had owned the Sabres, but the Sabres are kind of leveling the playing field of late. Sabres are 4-2 in the last 6 meetings against the Boston Bruins. And don't forget, Buffalo's coming off a 6-5 overtime loss to Anaheim to end that trip. While that was a great trip overall, 3-1, beating Vegas, San Jose, and LA, they ended it on a sour note. They did look a little fatigued in that Anaheim game, but I think you will still get a pretty good effort from the Sabres here. The question is, how high will that energy level be coming off the road trip? But I think there's great energy, frenetic energy early here tonight, and that's why I like that first goal or both teams to score in the first period here is definitely what I'm most interested in here with Bruins and Sabres. The draw, you could maybe. I don't love it, the draw here. I don't love it, but we have seen this series of Bruins Sabres. It went past regulation, 2 of the last 5 between them. Boston has still, over the course of the last 10 games, been a pretty strong draw team. 5 of their last 9 for the Bruins have gone past regulation. So this is a draw I'm on the fence with. Maybe I'll sprinkle, because there's only 2 games, I'll probably sprinkle on the draw a little bit. But I don't want to lead anybody down a primrose path of believing I love this draw, because I don't. As far as props for this game, there are a few things that I like as far as goal props here tonight. Elias Lindholm for Boston has scored in back-to-back games. He might be worth a look at a pretty solid, close to plus 400 price. We got to look at Zach Benson here for Buffalo. There's no question. Zach Benson has scored in back-to-back games for the Buffalo Sabres coming into tonight. And plus factor in where he is right now in this lineup for Lindy Ruff, although they moved him down, but he's still been able to find the back of the net back-to-back games. So I do like Benson here for the Sabres. Now, they've been playing him at times with Thompson and Tuck. Right now, some sites have Peyton Krebs with Thompson and Tuck, but, Lindy's used Benson up there before quite a bit. So like I said, Benson's still worth a look. He scored in back-to-back games here for the Sabres. Josh Doan, Jack Quinn. I would say Pavel Zacha, who's been, I think, for the last month, one of the better scorers for the Boston Bruins. I always talk about the combination of Marat Husnudinov and Fraser Minton. They could be worth a goal prop sprinkle. We do have the former player angle for Boston with Casey Middlestat going up against his former team, the Buffalo Sabres. Sam Carrick's not a crazy option. Like, there's some good. This is one of these games where you like so many goal props just because there's so much value out there with a lot of these players that you just sprinkle around and look toward. Obviously, just to hit a couple and you'll come out of it with a nice profit, because there's a lot of value. Benson, Lindholm, Doan, Quinn, Middlestat, Husnudinov, and Minton, Zacha. You go on down the list, there's some good ones for sure. Yeah, Pasternak on a 4-game assist streak, Morgan Geekie on a 4-game assist streak, and Charlie McAvoy has been tearing it up as far as points lately for the Boston Bruins. I'm looking at it. Yeah, he's got points in 9 of the last 10 games for this Bruins team, and his point prop minus 135 is not that bad. Not that bad at all. For a guy that's got a point in 9 of the last 10 for the Bruins on the back end, minus 135, you got some pretty good percentages right now in your favor at this point in time. So Geekie, Dahlin for Buffalo, Lindholm, McAvoy, they've all been piling up points lately for their respective teams, and prices aren't that bad. So there's definitely not a bad prop game here for Bruins and Sabres. All right, next up, as we continue along here, we've got the last game. There's only 2, of course, on this slate, and playing for exercise, as I like to say, the New York Rangers and the Toronto Maple Leafs. Rangers minus 120, road favorites, 6.5 the total here, so shop around depending on which book you're looking at here. Now, the goaltending tonight in this matchup, this is the Leafs on the back-to-back after beating Boston last night 4-2. Now they're back home against the Rangers. I mean, I don't want Toronto. There's no chance I'm betting Toronto. It would be so Toronto to beat Boston, a team they don't like, grudge match, division rivalry, beat Boston, play spoiler, hand the Bruins a costly loss when they're trying to make the playoffs, come back home and just absolutely lay an egg here against the New York Rangers in a sterile environment at Scotiabank. It would just be so Leafs to do that. So no chance, none, zero for me putting money on the Toronto Maple Leafs tonight after a big win last night. That's just not going to happen. Now, the question is, do I want to back the New York Rangers badly enough? And do I want to lay minus 120 with them on the road? No, probably not. That being said, if I was forced to bet a side here, I would look at the Rangers only here in this one. Toronto is playing. They are cold, but do you really trust them to have the same intensity as last night? This is the New York Rangers, man. I mean, I don't trust Toronto. Now, I will say for the Leafs, the Boston game that was great last night. They played hard, they played well, and you tip your cap to the Leafs last night. They played a really good game, and even against Ottawa, they did. Ottawa, they got outshot 44-14. They didn't play that bad against Carolina. They lost 4-3 in overtime at home. I get it. I'd just rather not bet either of these teams, but I'm just saying I just do not off a win. Let's go back and look at Toronto. What have they done off a win lately? Because we know wins have been few and far between. I've got Toronto 0-1, 0-2, 0-3. Their last three off a win. Yeah, and all these wins since they fell out of the playoff race. They have not been good stringing wins together. The Toronto Maple Leafs. So yeah, by default, I lean Rangers, but I'm not that excited about betting them. That being said, you do have the Rangers in their stronger split, home versus road. The Rangers are a pitiful, pathetic 9-25 at Madison Square Garden, but they are a respectable 19-18 on the road. They're actually one game above 500, the New York Rangers on the road. I lean over, though. I'm going to probably take over 6. That's probably what I'm going to bet here in this game. And even I don't love that simply because the goaltending here is going to be Joseph Woll for the Leafs on a back-to-back because they gave Stolarz the start last night. And you've got Igor Shesterkin for the Rangers. And Shesterkin's been really good lately. Like he could be an overkiller with the way he's been going of late for the New York Rangers. He was excellent. He was beyond stupendous against Ottawa. He's the only reason they were still in that game. Against the Ottawa Senators. So the goaltenders could keep this low scoring, but I don't know if the blue lines in front of these teams, the goaltenders, are going to keep it low scoring because they're a mess, both of these teams defensively. They really are. Now, the Leafs finally played a better defensive game last night, but prior to that Boston game, they're getting caved in, and they're giving up just a shit ton of shots. These are both teams we want to target for over shots on goal and over saves props as well. The Leafs have been giving up a ton of shots and getting caved in. The Rangers have been giving up a ton of shots and getting caved in. So, this is when now they're playing each other here in this game. So, like I said, maybe you want to look toward Shesterkin over saves or Woll over saves and hope at least one of them hits for you because these are two teams that have certainly been giving up a ton of goal shots of late. You could go in that direction as well. Yeah, I'll get in on over 6, but like I said, lukewarm on it. I like it. I don't love it. That being said, I mean, I do expect chances for these two teams, and Jonathan is putting a pretty impressive stat in the chat here about how these New York Rangers games on the road have been over machines. There it is. New York Rangers last 7 road games for them. The combined goals 9-6-9, 8-9, 11-7. So there you go. The last 7 Ranger road games, only one of them has had a game with just 6 goals, and the other 6 of those 7 have all gone over 6 goals. So there you go. Yeah, that makes you feel a little bit better about looking over the total here in this game. So yeah, I'll go over 6 minus 120 here in this Rangers and Leafs game. It was 6-2 Rangers when they met at Madison Square Garden earlier this month. Since both teams basically knew they were not playoff teams, I discount the 2-1 game in October early in the season. Both teams thought they had a promising season ahead, which obviously did not turn out to be the case. So, yeah, over 6 minus 120. And Addison, I want to point out what he's mentioning. It's worth pointing out the second period over streak for the New York Rangers. It was 13 in a row, but the last game it came to an end for them Monday night in that game against Ottawa. So still 13-1 streak for the second period over for the New York Rangers. So that is something to point out. So if this game starts, that's why I don't like the first period over. If this game starts slow, Second period over could be worth a look. 13-1 to the second period over for the New York Rangers in their last 14 games. As far as props for me here with the Rangers and the Leafs, Matthew Knies is, I think, getting a goal. Hungry Knies, one goal from you, and I can't describe. Matthew Knies getting a goal last night, and it was a beauty shorthanded goal against the Bruins. Maybe that gets him going a little bit. You could definitely maybe see that go to him a little bit. Lafreniere, to his credit, and I'll say this about Lafreniere. Obviously, he's getting more opportunity post-Artemi Panarin trade. And Lafreniere for the New York Rangers is starting to produce a little bit more. There's no question. By the way, Tavares on a 3-game point streak for the Leafs entering this game tonight. We've got 2-game assist streak for Nylander. But as far as the goal props, Knies for the Leafs, I'm going to go back to the well with Gabe Perreault for the New York Rangers up on that top line, still with Zibanejad and Lafreniere. I think Connor Sheary, who scored in the last game against Ottawa, could be some value. Ty Cartier, too, playing with, the captain who's not exactly playing and leading like one right now, JT Miller for the New York Rangers at the moment. But those are a couple of props on the Rangers side. But for Toronto, Matthew Knies, Easton Cowan, I'll still say good value playing with Tavares and Nylander up there on the top line. Those are some of the props to look at least for me here with Leafs and Rangers. Michelli has 3 goals in 7 games against Igor Shesterkin. He's cooled off lately. That's why I was initially not looking at Michelli to score tonight, but he does have good numbers against Igor. So 3 and 7 against Igor Shesterkin for Matias Michelli. So this might be the night maybe to give Matias Michelli a roll at over plus 400. All right, great stuff. Short show. Shout out to everyone in the chat at the like button. We appreciate it very much. And like I said, big card on Thursday, and we'll have Alex and Matty Robb in the house for that. WizardSportsPicks.com. Make sure you check it out. Number 1 in the NHL and college basketball this season at the website. It's been a profitable NBA season. We've still got lots of NCAA tournament to come, Sweet 16 this week. NHL, NBA on a daily basis. MLB opening day. Well, there is 1 game tonight and a full card of MLB for opening day tomorrow. MLB starting, and I do handicap that, so make sure you check it out. WizardSportsPicks.com. And, of course, Patreon.com/Ice Guys, just $10 per month. Goalie charts, totals charts, daily betting cards, sides, totals, player props posted each and every day on the Patreon page. Get on board, and it's still available until the end of March for the Dub Club All Sports service that I've been running for years now. I mean, how many subscribers have I had not currently, but at one point or another, I have had upwards of 500 people subscribe to the Dub Club service, All Sports. And there's a reason for that. Long term, it's going to be profitable. I don't want to say I guarantee it because nothing's guaranteed, but with the work I put in, the hours I spend doing this every single day, I'm confident in being profitable long term. And the results have shown that in multiple sports. It's not by accident that, I'm number 1 in NFL on Wizard or number 1 in college basketball on Wizard. Unbelievable amount of hours I pour into this on a daily basis. And if you're a Dub Club member, you're being rewarded for these efforts right now. So again, on the Patreon page, the $50 off All Sports 1-month subscription discount for Dub Club is still there. And this is an offer that is only available to Patreon Ice Guys members. So that is still available. So make sure you check that out. That is on the Patreon page as well. Again, your membership to Patreon goes a long way to supporting the show and keeping it going long term. And as I mentioned earlier in the show, 4 Patreon exclusive live betcasts are coming your way in the month of April. 2 late in the regular season and another 2 in the Stanley Cup playoffs first round. So make sure you check it out. $10 per month. Get on board. Patreon.com/Ice Guys. And last but not least, the Ice Guys store. Get your gear and your merch over at the Ice Guys store. The weather's warming up. Good time to get involved and get some Ice Guys merchandise and gear for the summer months. iceguys.myspreadshop.com. All right, bargain bin special of the night and best bets coming up right after we hear from our great Ice Guys sponsors.
Wizard Sports Picks. featuring the finest handicappers in the universe. Sharp insights, trusted picks, and relentless results. We strive to help you become consistent winners. This is Wizard Sports Picks.
All right, it is time for Bargain Bin Special of the night on this Wednesday NHL slate. Alex B. Smith delivering for us the one and only Bargain Bin Special winner last night with Simon Holmstrom of the New York Islanders at plus 370. We'll see how we can add to it here tonight with Bargain Bin Special. I have just one Bargain Bin Special tonight. It's only 2 games. There's only one that I really, really liked as far as Bargain Bin Special worthy, and it's going to be Zach Benson for the Buffalo Sabres. It's a great price. He scored in back-to-back games here for the Buffalo Sabres, and certainly and plus he has had at least some recent games where he's been playing on the top line. I don't know if he'll be there tonight, but still, you're talking about plus 525 at FanDuel and at BetMGM. They have the same price as well, plus 525 for someone that has scored in back-to-back games. So give me Zach Benson for the Buffalo Sabres, plus 525 for my Bargain Bin Special for this Wednesday NHL card. All right, best bets. Finally, we're starting to get back in flow with best bets after that dreadful slide that we had. We've cashed, I think, 2 of the last 3 with the best bet, including New Jersey Dallas over last night. I'm going to that first period, both teams to score, plus 162. It's a short card, not much to choose, not a big selection to choose from. But I like that a lot. That first period, both teams to score for Bruins and Sabres. I think the Bruins come out with a fast start after the loss last night. Buffalo lost that last game of the road trip. I think both teams get on the board early in the opening 20 minutes. So we'll go with Boston, Buffalo, both teams to score, first period, plus 162 for my best bet here for this Wednesday NHL slate. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button on the way out. We appreciate it very much. And again, we are back tomorrow and looking forward to a massive Thursday NHL card. We should have Alex B. Smith back in the house, and we should have, obviously, Matty Robb. Hopefully the audio issues will be corrected and fixed for tomorrow, and we'll get him back in the rotation for his usual Thursday spot as well. And very important, again, to point out, we're ramping up the BetCast coverage in the month of April. One more time, just want to reiterate that. We're going to have a free-for-all BetCast in April. It'll be in the regular season, the early part of April, and then we're going to have 4 Patreon exclusive live betcasts available only to Patreon Ice Guys members in the month of April, in addition to the free-for-all one. And those 4 betcasts exclusive to Patreon members, 2 of them will be in the regular season early in April, and the other 2 will be during the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs in late April. So, like I said, we've got tons of betcasts coming up. Make sure you get on board. And again, too, the $50 off discount for the Dub Club subscription, all sports subscription with me. It's still on till the end of the month. We had a winning plus units night in every sport last night. NHL, NBA, plus the NIT tournament in college basketball. So again, that's available exclusively to Patreon Ice Guys members as well. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday, Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and more. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Wednesday night. Enjoy the games and good luck, and we'll be back tomorrow on Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern, for another edition of the Ice Guys.